Hello, my name is Andrea, and this is Starlight Stories for Magical Children. Here you will find a collection of stories that were told to me from storytellers from magical realms, the animal kingdom, and nature. I am delighted to share these stories with you. And maybe as you listen, you'll find that life really is magical, and so are you. Our storyteller today is Relgar. He is a woodland elf. He has a very special role in his clan of woodland elves. He is the keeper of the stories. And this story that he wants to share with you today isn't actually about himself. It's about a young elf named Lyrielle. Now this story is many generations old. But it is one that has a special place in his heart. Before we begin the story, there is some information you need to know about the traditions and customs of this woodland clan of elves. Music is very important to them. It is woven into almost everything they do. They sing and dance and play their instruments, almost for any occasion, whether they're celebrating or grieving or gardening, waking up, falling asleep. Music is at the heart of their community. And they have a special tradition known as the Heartsong Ceremony. This ceremony takes place on the morning of the 10th birthday of every elf, and is at this ceremony where an elder elf selects an instrument for this elf to play, and it becomes their instrument for life. And this story is exactly about that. Let's begin. It was the night before Lyrielle's 10th birthday. She was lying awake in bed. She was having a hard time falling asleep, for she was so excited about her Heartsong ceremony in the morning. All she could think about was the instrument that she wanted to play, the electric guitar. Now, quick side note, as I said, this story is very old, many generations old, and at the time they did not have electric guitars. But Relgar told me that there was a different instrument that Lyrielle wanted that doesn't exist anymore. But the electric guitar captures the essence of this instrument, so we're going to use that one for this story. But feel free to use your imagination, and if you see or hear a different instrument, that's great too. Feel free to use that instead in this story. Okay, back to the story. Lyrielle was lying in bed thinking about the electric guitar. She was imagining holding it in her hands and strumming it, and hearing the beautiful song spring forth from the amp. I know it's going to be an electric guitar, I know it. For Lyrielle had wanted an electric guitar ever since the first time she heard one. And she was so certain that this was the instrument of her heart song that she had convinced herself that that is exactly what she would be receiving at her Heartsong ceremony. And so, as thoughts of her electric guitar filled her mind, she finally drifted off to sleep. The next morning, she awoke as the sun was peeking through her window, and the morning birds were singing their songs. "It's the day, today is the day," Lyrielle said to herself. She hopped out of bed and got ready, ran downstairs to greet her family. "Happy birthday, Lyrielle," they all said and cheered for her. And together they walked to the courtyard for her Heartsong ceremony. And as she approached, she saw the elder elf standing there, and behind the elder elf was every instrument you could possibly imagine. Lyrielle's eyes went right to the electric guitar. Electric guitar, electric guitar. She kept saying to herself, kept thinking about it over and over and over again. It just had to be the instrument for her. There was no other possibility in her mind. The elder elf called Lyrielle forward. Lyrielle walked slowly and stood before the elder elf. The elder elf said, "Lyrielle, today is your 10th birthday. Today is the day of your Heartsong Ceremony. For today you will be given your instrument." And then the elder elf, she grew silent, and she gazed at Lyrielle. For the elder elf had a special gift. She could hear the heart song of every elf. And the way she picked the instrument was by matching the heart song from the elf to the sound of the instrument. So that way, every time the elf played their instrument, it's like the music was coming straight from their heart. It was beautiful, it was powerful, and full of love. So Lyrielle felt the gaze of the elder elf, and it felt like minutes were passing, but really it was only seconds before the elder elf turned and started walking toward the instruments. This is it, Lyrielle thought. She watched as the elder elf walked past the tambourine, walked past the cello, walked past the triangle, the hand drum, the trombone, the trumpet, the harp. She got closer and closer to the electric guitar. Lyrielle felt her heart swell. This is it. This is it. But when the elder elf got to the electric guitar, she didn't even give it a glance. She kept walking down the line of instruments. No, that can't be it. That can't be right, Lyrielle thought to herself. She must turn around. I know she must turn around. But the elder elf did not turn around. She kept walking until she stopped in front of an instrument. She picked it up, held it in her hands, and brought it back to Lyrielle. Lyrielle stood in disbelief as the elder elf said, "Lyrielle, your instrument is the piccolo." Lyrielle could not hide the disappointment from her face, but she knew that she had no choice in this matter. So she graciously accepted the piccolo and looked down at it. It was not an electric guitar, not even close. And as the ceremony came to an end, her friends and family gathered around her, so excited and ready to celebrate with her. She could not muster any excitement. She walked slowly home with her family. When she got inside her house, she tossed the piccolo onto the chair. Now, the elves in this clan, they treated their instrument with the utmost care and respect. It was nearly unheard of for an elf to toss their instrument with such carelessness. That is how disconnected Lyrielle felt from the piccolo. Now it was still her birthday, so that day she continued to celebrate with her family and friends. But the piccolo, it stayed on that chair for days and days. Lyrielle hardly looked at it, never touched it, and certainly didn't try to play it. Instead, Lyrielle was thinking of a plan where she could still have an electric guitar. And then one day, she said to herself, "I've got it. I know what to do." For she had a friend who, during his Heartsong ceremony a few years back, was given an electric guitar. So she thought to herself, if I can go to his house and ask him if I could just play his electric guitar, then maybe I can show the elder that this instrument is really meant to be mine. I can show her, and she will change her mind. Now, it's not very often that elves let other elves play their instrument, but she thought her friend might be willing to help her out. So she went to his house and knocked on his door He opened it up. "Lyrielle, oh, I'm so happy to see you. Would you like to play today?" Lyrielle replied, I would, but I really, first, I have a favor I'd like to ask you." And then she explained to him her plan to play the electric guitar and show the elder elf that is really meant to be her instrument. Her friend looked over at her with some uncertainty. He had never let anyone else play his guitar before, but he could see that this was very important to her. And as his friend, he wanted to support her. "Okay, Lyrielle, you can play my guitar." He went and got his guitar out. He took a deep breath. "Okay, here you go," and handed it to Lyrielle. Her heart was racing as she took hold of the electric guitar. She could feel the strings under her fingertips. And she lifted her hand up and she strummed the strings with her fingers. And the electric guitar sound rang out. "Well, how did it feel?" Lyrielle's friend asked her. "I guess I didn't really feel anything." "Nothing?" he asked. "No. It felt about as meaningful as tying my shoe," which to say is not very meaningful. "I kind of expected that when I played it, I would feel my heart open up and joy burst through the song." "Well, that is what it feels like when I play it," her friend said. "Is that what it feels like when you play your piccolo?" "Oh, my piccolo." Lyrielle winced, realizing that she really didn't give her piccolo a chance at all. She had neglected her piccolo. "I actually haven't played it yet," she said. "What?" her friend replied. "You haven't played it? Well, go play your piccolo. You'll see how it feels." And so she carefully handed the guitar back to her friend, said, thank you for giving me the chance, and she ran home as fast as she could. She got inside, saw the piccolo lying there on the chair. She felt a little bit of remorse over not treating her piccolo with more care. But now is the time to make a change, she thought. And so, she ever so lovingly picked up her piccolo. She brought it up to her lips, and then she played her first little melody. And just as she expected to happen with the guitar, it actually happened with the piccolo. She felt her heart open, and the song that came through felt as if her heart was singing. It was magical, and she instantly fell in love with the piccolo. And Lyrielle, she learned an important lesson that day, that sometimes we think we know what we want, but there might be something even better in store for us when we can be open to new possibilities. And from that day on, every time Lyrielle played the piccolo, the song of her heart rang out true and clear. The end.